Hey everyone, Hammad here. Welcome to my channel, Cloud with Hammad, DIY Cloud Learning to Inspire. For today, our cloud series with AWS, I will be reviewing AWS storage services, specifically Amazon S3, which is simple storage service. We'll touch base on introduction of S3, what are the classes and functions and features are, what type of pricing tiers are, encryption and security, versioning, most importantly, lifecycle management. We'll also discuss a little bit about performance, S3 Glacier. In the end, what we'll do is we'll do a quick lab in which I will create a bucket, upload a document, and then version that document. And then also what we'll do is we'll actually go online and download a static website code and upload that code into S3, and we'll run a website off that S3. So before we start doing that, if you're new to my channel, please subscribe, like, and share. I would really appreciate it. And then without further delay, let's go to our notes. Thank you. Okay, guys, one more thing before we get into our notes. All this like notes and documentation that we're going to discuss about services, object, functions, and features. This is not a training material. This is basically what I prepared when I did my exam. So this is my preparation. This is obviously not a slide. So I know that a lot of people make slides and do the training. I can do the same thing, but this is more like a brief introduction about AWS S3, anything with classes, function, and encryption. So this is something that I prepared. So don't just use this as a notes. You can talk to me about notes. I can help you with that. But I think I would highly encourage. This is not like a real training. This is just a video that I made. I do intend to make the whole slides later sometime this year, but this is just the notes. If you really want to know what AWS 3 would be, I would go to documentation. There are several courses out there that you can take, but it's more like if you go to documentation for Amazon, you can go to user guide, and there is a lot of material in there you can go through, prepare this. Otherwise, I will show you my like a OneNote documentation. You can go through from there. You can see it says getting started. Everything is here, how to create a bucket, upload, copy, and delete. And then, working with the bucket, naming rules, everything, encrypting, transfer escalation, storage. So everything is there. If you go through each by each section, you should be able to know what S3 is. But when I'm going to go through my notes, you should be able to identify the basic, what you need to know in order for you to understand what S3 is. So this is a brief introduction. Okay, let's go to our notes now. On my whiteboard, let's quickly recap what we are going to do. We'll basically discuss a little bit about storage S3, what are the functions, features, classes, and then pricing tiers, encryption, and then versioning, lifecycle management, and then in the end of the discussion, we will actually do a quick lab as mentioned. These are my notes. What I'm going to do is we'll discuss these notes on my OneNote document, which is where when I was preparing for my exam, I did my notes like this. So you should be able to I should be able to share those notes as well if you really want to use it. And then one of the places, two places actually, I did review my one more further was basically go to Amazon, like go to Google and type in AWS storage. It brings you up here. This actually tells you the type of storages services that Amazon provides. One of the basic there, object storage, which is S3, and you can retrieve amount data. And then there are some file storage, block storage. I mean, you can go further on it. We'll touch base on a couple of them in our notes, but these are how you back up, how do you transfer data from on-prem to the cloud. And then Snow family is mostly like, I think it's more like a Snowball and everything. Anyway, so first thing, and then, if I click here, you would get to a page. It just basically defines what S3 is, benefits, cost. So for cost, we'll just come here into pricing. We'll discuss it in cost, and then we'll also discuss security as well when we get to it. Let's go to my notes. I think, yeah. So in my notes in OneNote, it basically this is S3 101, simple storage service or S3. It's an object storage product provided by AWS. It's one of the most widely used and flexible AWS services. So what is object storage? So I actually I know what that is, but I think it's good for you to read it here. So basically, what is meant by object storage? Object storage, also known as object-based storage, is a strategy that manages and manipulate data storage as distinct unit called object. These objects are kept in single storehouse and are not ingrained in file inside other folder. So there are different definition as well. I think this one is also more clear. And then most importantly, if somebody says, hey, what is object storage, I can define them, but I also need to give them an example. As so what if I search what is object storage example, I would say unstructured data such as music, images, videos, backup, and log files, large set of historical data, archive files. So basically that is an example of object storage. So you can go further and talk a little bit more about object storage. Let's go to my notes here. So Amazon S3 or Amazon Simple Storage Service it's a service offered by Amazon Web Services that provides object storage through a web service interface. Amazon S3 uses simple scalable storage infrastructure, means that you can scale that to like a bigger hard drive, uses to run in global e-commerce network. So it is a global service. If you create a bucket or if you create like a folder, bucket in that folder, like first bucket and then folders, it would be like that name. It's globally one own name. So if I do Hammad, and if somebody else have taken Hammad, that bucket, I won't be able to have ownership of that bucket. We will see in our example as well. And so internet application backup and recovery, disaster recovery, data archive, these are the data lakes for analytics, hybrid cloud storage. And then it tells you that on March 14th, AWS launched AWS S3 in November. Anyway, in Europe in November. So what is S3? It's a safe place to store your file. Object stores like flat file. It is object store based storage. We just mentioned that, images, video files, like music files. The data is spread across multiple devices and facilities. The basic of S3 are follows. S3 is object-based. I think we've talked about it a couple of times. Allow you to upload your file. File can be from 0 byte to 5 terabyte. And there is unlimited storage. Files are stored in bucket. Bucket is a folder. And S3 is, as like I mentioned, that it's folders and bucket. Bucket is a folder. S3 is a universal namespace. That is, name must be unique globally. So like I mentioned, that if it's Hammad and anyone else have taken Hammad, then I would not be able to use that name. It can be Hammad123. Even if that is taken, I have to come up with a different name. The bucket creates a web address. For example, if I do Hammad Siddiqui, so HTTPS Hammad Siddiqui, and this ARN, this is the address. I think ARN is address resource name. When you upload file to S3, you get HTTP 200 code if you upload is successful. So when you upload a file, there are places where you would see a 200 code. That means that your file is successful. And these are the type of questions that sometimes in associate exams they ask. So let's go to next tab here. What is object? S3 object. So what is S3 object? S3 is an object base. I think of object just a file. Object consists of the following: key, value, version ID, metadata, and resources. So when I go into deploying like a bucket, I will show all these things. But so in that file, you will have key. This is simply the name of the object. It means that Hammad. Then value. This is simply the data and is made up of sequences of byte. Version ID means that important for versioning, which is basically what version. So if I upload one file and then this is version 1, and if I upload the second file, it's called version 2, but the file name is the same. So metadata is all the data about the data. means that, it's a 10 kb, 50 kb, and some of the details. And then there are sub resources, access control list, and just like torrent. There's a data consistency model for S3. How does data consistency works with S3? um, read after write consistency for put new object means that upload a file to S3, you are able to read immediately. It means that if you upload a file and it is available for you to read right away, that is that our read write consistency. This is for puts. Eventual consistency for overwrite puts and delete can take some time to propagate. Update or delete the same file immediately. Try to read that object. You might get a version 1 or 2, but if you wait for a few minutes, it would show object 2 again. So it means that eventual consistency is that, let's say if I update a file and then I update that file again, it might be possible that it's still reading the older one. So you just have to wait for a few seconds and the file gets updated. That is called eventual consistency. So in other words, I would say if you write new file and read it immediately afterwards, you will be able to view the data. If you update an existing file or delete a file and read it immediately, you will get an older version, or you may not. Basically, charge to object can take a little bit of time to propagate. So that's object. Let's do features. As we discussed, S3 guarantees following from Amazon: built for 99.99% available for S3 platform. I think that is 11.9, almost 99.9% availability, and then that is 11.9 durability for S3. Features: tiered storage available, lifecycle management, which we'll discuss. How do you do versioning, encryption, MFA delete, secure your data using access control list and bucket policy. And then this is a screenshot. And once we log into platform, I'll show you how the storage class can be defined. How do you encrypt the data? In this picture, what's the metadata? Metadata looks like tags, and then object locks. Classes, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, almost 6, I would think. Yeah, 6 classes in storage: standard, infrequently accessed, one zone, intelligent tiering, Glacier, and deep archive. Glacier deep archive. So standard, as we said, it's 99.99% available, which is 11.9 durable. That means that it is durable, so it's going to be across multiple facilities, which is redundantly available. And then it can design to sustain the loss of 2 facilities. So if there's some sort of interruption or disaster, it is still available even though there's 2 facilities are down. Okay, what is S3IA? That is infrequent access. Data that is accessed less frequently. So if you have something that you don't use, if you have a data that you don't use it frequently, so this is less frequently, you don't use it, but requires rapid access when needed. Low fee than S3 standard. There's a low fee to use this tier class. And then it is they get charged by retrieval fee. S3 one zone, low cost option for infrequent access data, does not require multiple availability zone and data resilience. So it means that if it's one zone, that zone goes down, then you don't have access to that data. And then intelligent tiering, I think sometimes people use that a lot. Check how often you use object and move accordingly. So if you have used it, let's say if you set up a time for 30 days, and if you use that file within the 30 days, it's not going to move to another Glacier or Glacier after. It's going to keep it. But let's say if the data has not been touched for 30 days, it is intelligent enough to move the data to S3 Glacier or different different class that you have selected. I mean, this is what it says. And then deep archive is Amazon S3 lowest cost storage. Data retrieval time can be up to 12 hours. Holding data mostly for 7 years to 10 years. Federal regulation, for example, prescription or credit card. So I know that, in a lot of countries, mostly states or in Canada, you have to have, so when a doctor gives you a prescription, that prescription gets scanned and it gets into the system and there's a law to keep it till 10 years or 7 years. So you don't use those prescription after like maybe 6 months or after a year. So you need to move it to somewhere where it's not being used. So that's where the Glacier Deep Archive happens, that, for a year I use that, and then I set it up that after a year, that prescription will move to Deep Archive. So it's going to go there and it will stay there for 10 years because of the regulations and laws. So, this is the type of classes. I'll show you how to get to it. And it tells you, this is basically the chart, tells you that, hey, standard have 9 nines, and all of them durability is 11 nines, S3, intelligent, one zone, Glacier, and then design for available, all of them are available. I think one zone is 99.5% because, it's in one zone. So if, you have a data in one zone and your zone though goes down, you don't have anything until it comes back. So that's why they said 99.5%. SLA is also 99%. Standard is almost 99%. They are available for more than 3 zones. One zone, as you can see, it's 1. And then, all of them are same. Maximum capacity charges, 128 KB, 48 KB. This is all the chart on the website. I'll show you in a second here. And then, data storage, minimum data is 30 days. And then Glacier, you have to keep it for 180 days. Otherwise, you will get charged. Retrieval fee, that, in order for you to access that data, it is based on per GB. Means that, let's say, infrequent access, if you are infrequently accessing the data, and it is it won't charge you because you are infrequently accessing. You are after a GB of retrieval, they will charge you for that, and the cost will be shown in there. And then latency is more like how fast you can access the data, milliseconds for intelligent tiering. And I think for as mentioned, that since it's archived, it can go up to hours and sometimes days as well. So if we create a bucket, it shows that we created a bucket here. I'll show you as well. It shows up with property, permission, management, and I think I have this too. Let me see what this is. Oh, this is the metadata. This is actually the key that we talked about as what type of URL, size, expiration date. So, and then charges. There are 6 ways that S3 bucket owner can be charged. Storage, storing the data, how you request the data, as we talked about earlier. How do you storage management, pricing, data transfer, so how do you transfer data back and forth? How do you accelerate data? So transfer acceleration is another thing we talked about. Connect. So Amazon S3 transfer acceleration enable fast, easy, and secure transfer of file over long distance between your end user and S3 bucket. Transfer acceleration takes advantage of Amazon CloudFront. This is one of the services. So if you install a CloudFront in one of the location, everyone will access from one CloudFront to another, and they will actually save the data. So it doesn't have to go to like the main storage. It can actually save it up here, and it will give the data. So it will help with the latency as well. As the data arrives at the edge location, these are edge location, this. So everything is here. The data is being saved in edge location. Customer can access this edge location and they won't see any latency. But let's say if there's no edge location, this customer is accessing data from here, the latency will be huge. So that's why they have this edge location, so that there is a little bit more faster access to the data. So it says, as the data arrives to the edge location, data is routed to Amazon S3 over an optimized network path, which Cross-region replication pricing. With cross-region replication, every object uploaded to an S3 bucket is automatically replicated to a destination bucket in a different AWS region. So if I save a file here, it will automatically save it in here, which is, I think this is Australia, this is US. So if I put file here, there is replication happening in Australia as well. For example, you can use cross-region replication to provide low latency data access in different region. Means that, if you have this bucket in US, you have another bucket in Australia, and you can have CrowdFront, which is just like this edge location where you can just access the data, and it's being replicated, updated. It depends on your architecture as well. So pricing tier, you can go to this link for pricing tier. We'll go quickly here, and we'll talk about pricing. And then everything is here. How do you do storage? This is a calculator you can do. So this based on region. So so let's say if I want to save a file, which is their famous region, which is Virginia. So I would say this East Virginia, it gives you that, hey, the first 50 terabyte per month, you can use 0.023 per GB. So this is how you would do pricing in different class. Intelligent hearing. This hasn't changed, but you can make sure that every time you're designing an architecture for storage, I would come to this place and use the pricing calculator. It tells you how do you want to calculate your storage prices, and it estimates. This price is amazing. Try to do estimate, and you will be very happy to see it. Request, it tells you how many puts, how many gets, how do you copy, or everything is there. Data transfer, how do you transfer? It's all about cost. How do you retrieve the cost, as we talked about here? How do you get charged? It's through like these method, and this is showing up here. Replication, lambda function, so that's how you would do pricing. Same thing, we talked about it here. I kind of did a screenshot of what you did. S3 has following features: tier storage available, which we already have talked about it. Security. So this is also very important. There not a lot of questions being asked on security, but security itself is, let's say if I can do this here a little bit. So S3 is capable of encrypting object, either allowing the customer to manage key or provide end-to-end solution. There are 3 types of encryption: SSE, the server-side encryption by customer, and server-side encryption onto S3, and KMS, that is key management system service. So all new buckets are private by default. So if I create a bucket, they are private. So I have to, in order for me to get that visible or any content in that bucket to be available for publicly access, you just need to make sure you enable it. So by saying that you can set up access control to your bucket policy, that works on bucket level, and then access control list that is worked on object level. It means that bucket policy on the bucket side and object is on the files. So everything in the file is, you can do it, access control list policy works. S3 bucket can be configured to create access log, which logs all requests made to S3. This can be sent to another bucket, and even to another bucket into another account. So, I think the best example would be you can configure to create logs for S3, and you can do log analytics. So log analytics for Azure, but CloudWatch, you can use that log in CloudWatch to see. And then I'll also show you when we save some file and data into the bucket. What we'll do is I'll show you some stats or some metrics over that. So encryption in transit is archived achieved by HTTP. Traffic is going to be encrypted in transit. Between your computer and server, traffic is encrypted. And then SSL TLS. So If you have encryption in transit, this is how you will achieve it. And then encryption at rest is its server side, SS, is achieved by data stored at the hard drive. Can be set up via server side or client side. It can be in both sides. And then managed key, which is all of them are S3 managed keys, that is SSE3. Amazon manage all these keys in S3. AWS Key Management Service managed key by SSKMS, server-side encryption, and client-side encryption. And then once we create a bucket, I'll show you how these are set up. So doing that, and then versioning, we talked about how the versioning is the feature. I would say versioning is a feature allowing multiple files of an object to exist in S3 bucket. Versioning need to be enabled at the bucket level, meaning every object is given an object ID. When object is deleted, a version ID is added rather than actually deleting the object. So basically, what's going to happen is that you uploaded file 1 and to S3 bucket, and then you made changes to file 1, and then you upload that file again with more changes. There is a versioning of that new file is created. So you have an older file and you have a new file as well. Older file have less information, new file have more information. This can be done through versioning. So it tells you that use versioning with S3, store all version of object, including all writes, and even if you delete an object. It is great for backup tools. So if you have deleted a file, if it's in versioning, you can go back a day back or whatever time frame it is, and you can restore it. Most of the time, in my experience in support industry, sometimes people call in, hey, you know what? I can't find my Excel file. There's a sheet that I was working on. It was there yesterday. For some reason, somebody might have deleted it. So what we'll do is we'll say, okay, when was the last time you worked on it? And we'll go back into versioning and see which version she worked on or which version she's talking about, and we'll restore that file for them. So that's where the versioning happens. Once enabled, versioning cannot be disabled or suspended. This is important. And then integrate with lifecycle rule. It is MFA delete. You have to authenticate to delete it, MFA delete. And then, how do you, in versioning, you click here, and we'll show you in the lab as well. Lifecycle management, you can come into management tab, and then, you can have a rule. After 30 days, move it to intelligent tiering or Glacier archive. And then object lock is also read once, write many model. So Glacier Vault Lock make it easy to deploy and enforce compliance. S3 Glacier Vault with the Vault Lock policy with S3 Object Lock, we can store object using write once, read many. You can use S3 Object Lock to store object using write once. So once you write it, you can read as many times as you want. This is an object lock for that. And then there's a governance mode, compliance mode. All of the information is actually on the book and in the notes as well. And you can, I'll show you where it is. And then what is the retention period? Tells you, how do you retain it? Legal hold is just like, you can hold it for 10 years. If you have a data that is legally prevent an object version from being overwritten or deleted, and then Glacier Vault Lock. Performance, it depends on prefix. If you have a smaller file folder, it will be quickly accessed. So S3 have extremely low latency. You can get the first byte out on S3 within 100 to 200 milliseconds. You can also achieve a high number of requests. That means the 3500 puts, copy, post, and delete, and 5500 get heads requests per second. So if you have a folder 4, and then if you don't have the subfolder, you can access them quickly. It also depends on 5500 versus 2000 requests. So this is how you calculate. There's a formula on the book as well. And then it tells you about KMS, I think this is K, and then limits. Multi-part upload, you can break them down into small part and upload them. Okay, so that, and then Glacier select, organization, cross-region replication, I think we covered a little bit. Transfer acceleration, we talked about it a little bit. How do you transfer data through edge location? And then data sync is another transfer service that makes it easier to rapidly move large data into S3 and Amazon EFS from your application. Large amount of data from on-premises, and you can use this service. Like it says that you have a agent on both location, and that agent talks to each other and they can transfer the data. CloudFront, we will actually cover a topic in CloudFront. Snowball. Snowball is actually a service that AWS uses. They have all the clouds have those type of services. They give you a box, and that box have like petabyte of data. You can store it. Sometimes if a company have like petabytes of data, they would send this box to you, and you will attach it to a network, and you will upload all your files in there. It's faster. You don't have to like use data transfer online. You can just upload it. It will go back to Amazon. They'll hook it up to the network, and they'll transfer the data off to your storage. So Snowball is a petabyte data transportation solution, a large amount of data out of AWS. Common challenges: high network costs and long transfer time, as we discussed. So, and then security, because you're using the online. So what they do is they give you this box, and it's just cheaper than using online, because it's going to cost you money if you use internet. And then its sizes are up to 50 terabyte to 80 terabyte, and then it has security, multiple layer, and it's tamper resistant, so it has 256-bit encryption. And then when data transfer is completed or verified, AWS performs software insurance to a Snowball appliance. And then there is this as well, Snowball Edge. Snowball Edge is 100 terabyte data transfer, and then same thing. And then this is also very interesting. They have a 16-foot trailer, and you can just drive this to your company and get the data in there. And then it says 100 petabytes, so it's a 45-foot long rugged trailer that you can transfer data. It's these are the type. There's I have a video that shows storage gateway. I think exam does cover storage gateway, so I would suggest reading a little bit more. Storage gateway is a service that connect on-premises software appliance with cloud-based storage to provide seamless and secure integration between an organization and on-premise. So it's like a storage gateway is to basically connect your on-premises software with cloud, and then basically it's an integration between on-premises and cloud. It says AWS SGW software appliance is gateway appliance is available for download as a virtual machine image. So there's an image, and VMware ESXi and MS hypervisor installed through activation process. Same thing. Let me see if I can find I will find a lab, hopefully, and we'll do something on that. And then it gives you an example. There's a document here. You can look at storage gateway. Athena is more like SQL queries, interactive query service, which enables you to analyze located in S3. And then some of the exam tips. This is everything we talked about. It's like in one go. How do you do revision, lifecycle management, object lock, and these are all the exam revision. So make notes and go through all this to know what that is. And then go through frequent asked question from Amazon. It's on the website. So if you click here, it will give you all the features about. So these are the things that you need to know, how the S3 works. A lot of question comes in, like what can developer do with Amazon S3 they could not do with on-premises. So the answer is there. So let's do that. Let's too much of explanation, I think. So let's go into our lab and let's deploy some solution. I hope you enjoyed it. It's a little longer than it's usual, but it was a little bit more detail about the S3 introduction. If you like the video, please subscribe, obviously like, and share with friends. And until next time, have a great day.